They didn't just light up our screens, they carried entire shows. But sometimes, fame collides with conflict, illness, or impossible choices. These are the stories of actors who walked away from top-rated series, leaving fans stunned, networks scrambling, and legacies forever changed. Let's look back at the most unforgettable TV exits of all time. She played sweet, awkward Dr. Izzy Stevens, a surgical intern with a heart too big for her own good. But behind the scenes of Grey's Anatomy, Katherine Heigl was becoming one of the most divisive figures on television.
I killed that baby.
No, you didn't. She was gonna die anyway.
I mean, God, do you have any idea how scared I was? It was all for nothing.
In 2007, she won an Emmy for the role. A year later, she withdrew from Emmy consideration, saying she hadn't been given material worthy of it. That sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Tensions with Shonda Rhimes escalated, and by 2010, Heigl was gone. Her character vanished with barely a goodbye. Years later, she admitted she could have handled it differently. Frustration had spilled out in public, and it cost her. Her departure still stands as one of the most dramatic exits in modern TV history. Now, shift scenes to 1970s Chicago, where Good Times was breaking ground and breaking hearts. As James Evans Sr., John Amos brought pride, power, and emotional weight to one of the first black families in prime time. But behind the scenes, he was clashing with producers. Amos felt the show was veering off, mocking the very people it claimed to represent. He spoke up, loudly, and by season 4, he was fired. His character's death was delivered off-screen, in a single line, and it stunned fans.
I'm sorry, Fred. I thought you was a bill collector.
I understand, James. Many's the time I heard the wolf at my door.
Amos moved on to landmark roles in Roots and beyond, but his early exit still echoes. It wasn't just about one man. It was about what kind of stories TV was willing to tell, and who got to shape them. And speaking of stories that once lit up every barroom TV, Cheers was never the same after Shelley Long left. As Diane Chambers, she played the brainy, romantic counterpoint to Ted Danson's Sam Malone. Their chemistry carried the show through 5 acclaimed seasons, but Long wanted out. She longed to pursue film, spend more time with family, and felt the will they won't they arc had run its course.
I find older men stimulating.
I hope you're not talking about me.
Oh, certainly not. You're not in the least bit stimulating.
Behind the scenes, tensions had been quietly rising. Her final episode in 1987 was emotional, heartfelt, and final. The show carried on for years, even thriving, but something had shifted. Long's exit marked the end of the series' first great chapter, and while her film career never soared, her goodbye remains one of TV's most talked about departures. Even some of the most beloved sitcoms can't avoid a quiet heartbreak. Steve Carell was The Office, and as Michael Scott, he carried the show's humor and heart for 7 unforgettable seasons. But behind the scenes, his exit in 2011 wasn't just a creative decision. It was complicated. Carell hinted in interviews that NBC never officially asked him to stay, and some insiders later confirmed that the network let his contract quietly expire.
Oh my God, something's happening.
9,986,000 minutes.
It stunned fans. His farewell episode was emotional, but the show itself never fully recovered. Carell moved on to acclaimed film roles and Oscar nominations, but his absence left a void in Scranton that even its final 2 seasons couldn't quite fill. Sometimes a departure leaves a scar the show never quite recovers from. Christopher Maloney was Detective Elliot Stabler, fierce, complicated, and deeply human on Law & Order, SVU. For 12 seasons, he anchored the show alongside Mariska Hargitay. But in 2011, contract negotiations fell apart, and Maloney walked away. Fans were blindsided. There was no on-screen goodbye, no dramatic send-off, just gone.
Reggie, sit down. Sit down, let's talk.
Let's talk, yeah.
Behind the scenes, salary disputes and creative differences played a role, but Maloney later said it was about feeling done. The fallout lingered for years. SVU kept going, but many felt something vital was missing. Then, in 2021, Stabler returned in a spin-off, Organized Crime, and with him came waves of nostalgia, proving that some characters never really leave. They just wait to be missed. Before Maloney walked away from duty, Farrah Fawcett made a similar leap, from icon to outcast. As Jill Monroe on Charlie's Angels, she was the poster girl of late 70s television. Her feathered hair became a cultural phenomenon.
You're kidding. Nobody knew I was coming here.
A man named Paul Farino did. He phoned me just an hour ago.
Just one season in, she left the series. Her reasons? Burnout, a stalled film career, and a fight for more meaningful roles. Producers sued her for breach of contract. Fawcett eventually returned for guest appearances, but the rift was clear. Over time, she carved a space in more dramatic roles, even earning Emmy nominations. Still, her early departure from Charlie's Angels marked one of TV's most controversial walkouts. It didn't ruin her legacy, but it showed that stardom rarely comes without sacrifice. Leaving isn't always about drama. Sometimes it's about dignity. Daniel Dae Kim played Chin Ho Kelly on the Hawaii 5-0 reboot, a series he helped anchor for 7 seasons. But in 2017, he and co-star Grace Park left after failed contract negotiations. The issue? Pay equality. CBS reportedly offered them less than their white co-stars. Kim spoke candidly about the decision, calling it one of the most difficult of his career. Fans saw it as a bold stand. The show continued, but its dynamic was never quite the same. Kim went on to produce and act in new projects, including The Good Doctor, proving that walking away doesn't mean disappearing.
Dr. Murphy should be working here. The issue is whether I should.
It can mean leveling up on your own terms. And then there's Topher Grace's exit from that 70s show, which wasn't loud. After 7 seasons as Eric Foreman, he chose to leave in 2005 to pursue film. The show wrote him off with a vague storyline about teaching in Africa, and season 8 carried on without him. But the rhythm was gone, and the cast chemistry shifted as ratings slid. His departure marked the beginning of the end.
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
Grace landed roles in movies like Spider-Man 3, but the leap to film stardom never quite matched the hype. Years later, he acknowledged the pressure and uncertainty behind the move. When he returned in That 90s Show, it wasn't just nostalgia, it was closure for fans who never forgot who anchored the basement. Struggles with network power weren't unique to Topher alone. Suzanne Summers lit up television as Chrissy Snow on Three's Company, but her career hit a wall when she asked to be paid the same as John Ritter. The network said no, and when she pushed back, they pushed her out. Her role was reduced to brief, awkward segments taped away from the rest of the cast. By 1981, she was off the show entirely. The decision cost her years of steady work and stained her reputation in Hollywood. Summers later spoke openly about the fallout, the isolation, and the sexism she faced.
Well, this is typical, getting a girl pregnant. Only a man would do a thing like that.
She went on to reinvent herself as an author and entrepreneur. Her departure from the show still lingers as a bold and bitter turning point. And how can we forget Michael J. Fox? He was the heart of Spin City, a fast-talking, charming deputy mayor whose comedic timing powered the show for 4 strong seasons. But behind the scenes, Fox was privately grappling with Parkinson's disease, which he'd been diagnosed with in 1991, but hadn't yet revealed publicly.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time
By
machine?
2000, the symptoms became too difficult to mask on set. Fox made the announcement and stepped away from the series, handing it off to Charlie Sheen. His departure was emotional, not dramatic, but it reshaped the show instantly. Fans and critics alike felt the loss. Fox's decision to leave wasn't about contracts or conflict. It was about confronting illness on his own terms and redefining what strength looked like in front of millions. TV goodbyes aren't just endings. They're echoes of battles, heartbreak, and choices we never saw coming. Which departure still haunts you long after the credits rolled?